free. That's right, get a free preview of how to flip houses for easy profits. Click the Academy button to begin your path to wealth.
Hi, my name is Jason Chester, and for years I had a problem getting into the real estate business. I was surfing the internet one day and I came across Peter's coaching program on Craigslist actually. He has an online video course and I decided to go for it. The biggest struggle I had in the beginning was finding someone who was actually doing deals in my market. He guided me in the right direction to becoming a very profitable investor. He helped me avoid a lot of the mistakes that a lot of new investors make in the beginning, and he really put me on the fast track to making money in this business. You know, I've left my full-time job and I do this now full-time and I make very good money. So, you know, if you're interested in learning about real estate from, you know, a leading investor, Peter's your guy.
Hey, Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk to you about something that I bet none of you are doing, but that literally like that can increase, double, maybe even triple your income. And that is this, asking for referrals. See, amazingly to me, this business, although it has so much upside on referrals, as I look at the landscape of people I work with and people I kind of observe, even some, you know, internal things we do here, this business does not lend itself, or people that are active, to ask for referrals. Think about this. So many other industries, whether, you know, if you're an insurance agent or if you ever work with an insurance agent, guess what? Those guys are not leaving your house till you give them another, you know, 20 or 10 names of people they can talk to about potential insurance. Car guys, they're amazing at getting referrals for future business with people that you know. In this business, for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why, people do not ask for referrals. But that is an incredibly important thing that you got to do in this business. See, whether you're on a buyer side or the seller side, you absolutely positively have to ask for referrals. I'll tell you a story. When we started in this business many years ago, I literally myself used to go and door knock and look for deals. I mean, that was one of the ways that I used to find deals. Always, when I would talk to people, I would ask for a referral. If you're dealing with sellers right now and you do a deal with them or you don't do a deal for them, make it absolutely mandatory that you absolutely ask for a referral. Mr. Smith, hey, I'm glad we did the deal. Who else do you know that maybe went to selling a house? Or Mr. Smith, you know, I'm sorry we can't put your deals together at this point, but who else do you know? Buyers, sellers, anyone that you know in this business, they all know people in this industry. They might not know professionals in this industry, but remember, our industry is anyone that's looking to buy or sell real estate. Everybody knows people that owns real estate, right? Everybody knows people that may be looking for real estate. So one thing I want every one of you to do as you come in contact with people in this industry, start asking, who else do they know? You know, you always got to look at that person for what they possibly could do for you or with you, but then you also absolutely have to see past that person. Well, who else do they know that they could lead you to that could make you a ton of money in this business? Asking for referrals, absolutely critical. Hey, Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk to you about something that you as an investor, almost at any level you're at, especially if you're towards the beginning stage of your career, always have questions about, and it is comps, how to pull comps. I mean, I hear that question asked of me, emailed, texted to me all the time. What's the perfect site for pulling comps? And one thing I will tell you, there is no perfect site for pulling comps. Like for instance, here in our market, here in Atlanta, with our negotiators, we actually use Zillow. And the one thing I hear about Zillow is, hey, that's just not accurate, but it's a starting point, you know, and that's how we do it here. But the reality is sometimes you got to know the real numbers. And sometimes we even, you know, not even, but, you know, company like ours, we definitely need to know the real numbers at a point in time in every deal we do. So the number one way to know numbers, and there's no substitute for that, is you absolutely have to know your market. You have to learn, you have to understand your market. Now, I know that takes time. So how do we get beyond just knowing your market and getting you to the point of that? In my opinion, the best way to get comps, and it's something that every one of us has access to, is through real estate agents. Real estate agents have access to databases that most of us as investors who are not licensed simply don't. You know, just a simple access to MLS gives them the ability to pull way more sophisticated, way more accurate comps that we ourselves can. So let me tell you how we do it here in our Georgia market. And again, trust me, I know this market. Been doing it for here in 15 years. I mean, there's spots that I am just dead on. But at the same time, there's certain pockets even here in my own market, in my own backyard literally, where I have some questions. So here's how we utilize agents, that every single one of you could utilize agents in terms of pulling comps. Because the issue always comes in, well, Pete, gosh, you know, how do I get that agent interested in pulling comps for me? I know they could do it. How do we do it? So there's really two models for that. There is a paid model, okay, and there is what I call a listing model. We actually utilize both of those. Now, when we need comps, it is at a point in time on certain deals where we don't have comfort level with our numbers, we'll actually get it to our realtors to confirm our numbers to see if we're on track on the deal or off track. We actually, like I said, utilize both of this paid model and the listing model. The paid model is you could just simply pay a local agent to pull comps for you. We have an agent that we do that with. Currently, we're paying her $10 for every comp she pulls up. And I think that's a legitimate thing. Remember, we're not asking her to do it to the degree that an appraiser would do it. We're definitely not asking Donna to run out to these properties, examine these properties. So we pay Donna $10 for every comp she pays, every comp she does for us. The second model for doing this is basically you work out a deal with the agent that if, you know, as you start doing deals, whether it's that particular deal or other deals, you're going to use this agent as a primary agent to list deals for you, okay? We have that also. With Kimberly here, she also pulls comps for us, and what we do for Kimberly, we don't pay her for every comp, but we give her listings. As a matter of fact, as a result of us, Kimberly has 100 plus properties listed for me right now in Atlanta market. So both of these models work. Okay, the paid model and the listing model. So again, if you're discouraged about how do I get the comps, what do I do with comps? Very simple. Connect with the local agent in town, figure out if you want to go with a paid model or a listing model, and you can get some very quick, very accurate comps right back to you that allows you to make good decisions in terms of what you have to do or what you want to do in terms of moving forward with your deals. Hey, this is Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk about a topic that all of you come in play with or in contact with consistently if you're wholesaling deals, and it's something that I get constantly asked about, and that is this. When you're wholesaling a deal, and let's say you're trying to do an assignment, at what level or what dollar amount is the assignment just too big for you put in a HUD for your buyers and your sellers to see? You know, people always get paranoid. Well, I don't want my buyer to know that I'm marking it up $5,000 or $10,000, or I don't want my sellers to know. So there's a couple mitigating factors that go into that decision. So let me use actually a deal that we're right now closing, actually I think today, where we're actually double closing, meaning we're not doing an assignment. We're using we're using two separate closings. We're utilizing two separate closings, utilizing two separate HUDs. So here's the deal. I'm actually buying it for $61,000 and selling it immediately for $92,000. Okay, so that's a big, you know, that's a big spread right there. That's a, you know, $30-some thousand spread. And in this case, we decided to go with a double closing. Now, internally, our rules here are pretty simple. We'll do an assignment, anything 15 or below, and anything 15 or above, we're going into a double closing. Now, some people even get worried about lower assignment fees. Like, you know, people all the time contact me like, gosh, Pete, I'm making $5,000. I don't want to do an assignment on this one. I don't have the money to do a double closing and all this. So a couple things for you to consider. Number one, you have to make sure you're using very savvy closing attorneys or title companies, depending what state you're in. A good closing attorney, a good title company is able to kind of so-called hide these assignment fees. So what I always recommend is you always want your closing agents to put your assignment fee, no matter how big or how small, on the second part of the HUD towards the bottom of the HUD. Because really in the end, if you're a buyer, and especially if you're a seller, the real parts of the HUD you're looking for are the first page of the HUD. You know, here's my sales price and here's what I'm making. You know, or here's my purchase price and here's what I'm paying. Many times the second page, you know, it just kind of breaks up fees that are all summarized in the front page that they can't even see it. So you have to have a good and a savvy closing agent, very important. A good and a savvy closing agent will also be able to explain the assignment fees and, and kind of work through them in a very nonchalant manner. The one thing I always recommend is you do not want to use a closing attorney or an agent or a title company that just throws these assignment fees into the buyers and sellers' faces. There's no need for that. It's just part of the transaction. It's everything we do is above board and it's very legit. But again, there's certain things that you want to showcase and certain things we don't. That's one of them. So the size of the assignment fee matters. The closing agent matters very much. The placement of the assignment fee matters very much also. Now, here's the other issue that people come in, maybe on some of these larger flips that you're doing, is that when you go into a double closing, most of the time you have to fund the front end transaction. So a couple things as a result of that. And a lot of times investors just don't have the money to fund, here's a $60,000 that needs to be brought to this closing. A lot of investors, or maybe you yourself, don't have the kind of money you need on the front end. Again, a couple things here. There's things called transactional funding, and all you have to do is just Google for them. These are companies literally all over the United States that fund back-to-back closings. I'm actually a transactional funder myself, so I could fund anybody's A to B, B to C transaction as long as it's set up correctly. So transactional funding is one solution to having to bring money to closing. Number two, again, going back to having the right closing agent or the right title company. In a cash transaction, when you're working with cash transactions, a good closing attorney should be able to use the B2C funds to funnel through to A to B. Now, if you have a mortgage involved on the B2C side, then that cannot be, 99% of the time, those funds cannot be used. So either use transactional funding when you need the money and you don't have the money, or if you're working with a cash transaction on the B2C side, a good closing attorney or a good title company should be able to just funnel that money all the way through. One of the things we do when we work with our closing attorneys is that we make sure that our closing attorneys can funnel the B2C down to A. Now, in certain regards, the B2C people do not want their funds to be used, because when these transactions are done the right way, you have to disclose that the B2C funds will be used for the A to B funds. And usually it's just a document that the actual purchaser signs on the back end, knowing their money has to be will be used to funnel through. Again, some buyers, they don't want that to happen. No big deal. Obviously, we have no problem funding these ourselves. And if that happens to you, or they don't want those funds to be used, then you got to go into a transactional mode. So those are the things that you want to consider. Now, let's tell you something else that almost overshadows almost all of these things I've been talking about. And that is what we do here. And that is we always disclosing to everybody, our sellers, our buyers, exactly what's going on. See, in a transaction like this, even though we are using a double closing, just because the enormity of this transaction in terms of the profit margin, but the bottom line is, guess what? Our seller here knows exactly what we're doing in this transaction. That we're actually not stepping in ourselves, but we're moving this property to a third-party investor. So there's no surprise for them, even if we did have to go into an assignment. And guess what? Our buyers, they know exactly what's going on too. So the ultimate way to make sure that you have security that these transactions don't fall apart, always disclose to your sellers, to your buyers, exactly how the transactions are structured. And that is the ultimate way to negate any kind of issues that can come up with closings when you're doing assignments. So today I want to talk to you about what happens in all of our lives when things aren't, let's say, to the standard we want them to be, or potentially are actually below the standard that we want them to be. Like, for instance, think about this. If you're an individual that goes to the gym, I go to the gym on a daily basis. Why do you go to the gym? Think about this. What happens if your car breaks? You're going to take it to a mechanic, right? Think about it. Why do people, millions upon millions of us have been to colleges to get better educated? So the bottom line is this: there's so many things all of us do in our lives to better ourselves or to better those things or people around us. Again, we go to the gym to better our bodies, to feel better, to be in better health. You know, when something breaks, whether it's a car, a mechanical thing, even a vacuum cleaner, immediately you're taking it somewhere if you need it fixed. So you're bringing outside help in. Again, that's why people go to colleges and universities and why our kids go to schools all over the United States. But here's the question that I want to pose to you. If you're not getting the results that you want to get in the real estate business, what are you doing about it? See, so many times I see people literally floundering in this business. You know, for instance, you know, what are you doing? You know, let's say you're an individual that's doing pretty good on lead generation, but you're not converting those leads into deals. The question is, what are you doing to better yourself on being a better negotiator? You know, let's say you're an individual that's right now working with several different agents, and none of those agents are worth of anything. They're not even bringing you deals, they're not selling any of your deals and all this. What are you doing to better yourself to understand how to better work with agents? You could say same thing about contractors. Let's say the last 5 renovations that you've done, the contractors did subpar work. You may have actually used multiple contractors. What are you doing to better understand and learn how to function in that environment and how to work with the right contractors? Every step of the way in this business, you can ask yourself the question, what are you doing to better yourself? Now look, we all know what you could do. You know, there's the traditional things. You know, I think every individual listening to this, and I have them myself, you got to have a coach, you got to have a mentor, you have to have people whose shoulders that you could stand on in this business. It's probably, in my opinion, the quickest way to grow. The other thing you could possibly do is you could hire certain things out. Let's go back to that example of negotiations. You know, let's say you truly are not a good negotiator, and let's say you've tried to better yourself. Let's say you've gone to some sales trainings, some trainings in the real estate business, maybe even outside industries to help you better negotiate. And let's say you just cannot negotiate the right kind of deals. Maybe you don't have the skill set, the personality. You know, you could hire somebody to do that. You could bring in a skilled negotiator. So my point is this: think about your life. Anytime something breaks, anytime something doesn't function, you go outside of yourself and you try to make it work better. You go into an environment where you could fix it, you take it to people that could do a better job with it. Are you doing the same thing in your real estate business? If you're floundering around and you're not getting results, my contention is you are not. You are not doing things, whether you yourself are going to outside individuals or outside entities that could help you do that. But everything in this business that may not be working for you, this is the real good news. Everything in this business that may not be working for you is fixable. Whether you could fix it yourself through outside people's help, or you could bring outside people in to help you fill the void. That's how you grow in this business. Hi, Peter Vekselman. So today I want to talk to you about a question I get asked tons of times by different people in this business. And that is kind of a silly question from one sense, but another sense a very important question. That is like, what do I wear when I'm doing this business? You know, and I don't know if there's like a perfect answer to this question, but I will tell you there's certain things you don't want to do in this business. You know, unfortunately or fortunately, so many of us get in this business because, hey, we're our own people in this business. No one's going to tell us what to do. It's our own business. We're going to do and say what we want to say, including wear what we want to wear. So here's one thing I would not suggest you do. Don't look like a bum when you're building this business. And look, I know a number of you, you just, you know, you think it's the coolest thing in the world. Hey, I'm my own man or I'm my own woman and no one's going to tell me what to do. So I'm going to go see a seller today and I'm going to wear a tank top. Guess what? A great way to lose a deal if you wear a tank top to some kind of a sales presentation. So be the part, act the part, wear the part. I don't think you need to go in extremes. And the other side, I wouldn't go into, let's say if I was doing a sales presentation or trying to buy someone's home and I was going inside their house, and let's say it's a $30,000 home, I would not wear an over-the-top suit, let's say. You know what I mean? I wouldn't wear a tuxedo to something like that, because then you can come across as actually fake to people. So I always say dress the part of whoever you're dealing with and whoever you're working with. I mean, let me give you an example. Let's say you got a multi-million-dollar house and you want to sell that house, okay? So you bring a real estate agent in that shows up in baggy pants, again, a tank top, and you know, a baseball cap put on backwards. Or then the next moment, you got another agent that's dressed to the nines and shows up, even without that agent's presentation, even without that agent telling you anything, you already pretty much right up front are going to make a decision of who to go with. Let me give you an example. These, what I wear in these videos. I'll give you an example. I did a video about 2 months ago. It was at our lake house. I had just woken up. I spent the night with my son there, and I told Josh, I'm like, hey, do a video of me. My 13-year-old was doing the video, and I literally had just gotten out of bed, and I was going to do like one of those lifestyle videos. So how great it is. I could take one of my kids. We can spend the night at the lake house, go fishing together. And I did have basically an undershirt on that I had woken up with. My hair was a mess. But I thought it was a pretty good message that I said in that video. And I remember I got that over to my video guy, Pete, and he called me that day. He's like, Pete, that's not you. That's not the image you want to portray to the people that you're working with and the people you're helping in this business. So he basically nixed that video. A lot of times I'll do my thing during the day here, and I'll pop over into my office just to do these videos sometimes. And guess what? I purposely dress the part because I want to have an impact. I want an impact on people that are listening to me, that are getting this information. So what do you wear in this business? There is no one set perfect thing. You don't want to be extreme. You don't want to look like a bum, but at the same time, you don't want to be beyond overdressed for the person. So the best thing to do is dress the part. Dress the part of who you're dealing with that day. If you're dealing with sellers and you're in a middle-class neighborhood, wear something like this. If you're dealing with sellers, you're in a multi-million-dollar neighborhood, put a jacket on top. If you're spending a day out in the field with, working with your contractors, you could dress down a little bit because you're working with your contractors. But again, you want to come through a little bit as a figure of authority even to your contractors. So know your players, know the audience, and dress the part. Hey, I hope that helps.